Moana is packed with Disney and movie Easter eggs from Big Hero 6 to Frozen, Zootopia and The Little Mermaid, all the way through to Mad Max Fury Road. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, it's Jan here, and in this video I'm going to explain all the Easter eggs, hidden Mickeys, in-jokes and movie references I found in Moana. Just before I start though, I've got a very cool giveaway for this awesome The Art of Disney's Moana hardback book from Abrams and Chronicle, which features beautiful concept art from the movie and fascinating details about the making of the film. For a chance to win, just subscribe and leave a comment about the Easter eggs on this video, or let me know about any other Easter eggs you spotted. And as an extra thank you for watching this video, there's also some bonus ways to enter the giveaway via the Gleam link in the video description below. Okay, quick warning, there are spoilers ahead for the movie, so if you want to avoid those, you can check out my spoiler-free review of Moana right here. Moana directors Clements and Musker are veteran Disney creators, and there are a bunch of Easter eggs to their previous films at Disney in Moana. Let's start off with The Little Mermaid, because there's some hidden symbolism in the locket which Grandma Tala gives Moana that contains the heart of Te Fiti. The heart and the locket are a callback to Ursula's enchanted necklace, which held Ariel's voice captive, and just as the Little Mermaid story is only resolved when Ariel's voice is restored to her, so too Moana resolves her story by restoring the heart to Scar at the end of the movie. The circular swirl of the shell on Ursula's necklace is also reflected in the circular swirly symbolism scattered throughout Moana, such as on the gem itself, the ship's sails, the rock that Maui pries the heart of Te Fiti from, and the circular sand pattern when the gem first reveals itself to Moana. When Maui traps Moana in a cave with a huge statue of himself at the end of his song, You're Welcome, it's a nod to the statue of Prince Eric that Ariel kept in her cave. Later, when Maui's statue topples over as Moana uses it to climb out of the cave, a broken piece from Maui's face, his nose in fact, bounces up into the screen, which is a little hat tip to both the broken piece of Eric's statue that was used to win Ariel over for Ursula, and to the moment in Aladdin when Jasmine and Aladdin fly by the pyramids on the magic carpet and disturb one of the sculptors who chips off the nose of an enormous Sphinx statue. And by the way, there's a neat parallel between Ariel and Moana in that both their fathers want them to stay within the limits of their worlds. King Triton doesn't want Ariel to go ashore, and Chief Tui won't allow Moana beyond the reef. And Moana's story is a little like Ariel's in reverse, as Moana longs to leave the land for the sea, while Ariel longs to leave the sea for the land. Plus there's a nice nod to Ariel's hair flower in the pink flower that Moana wears in her hair. And in the movie's end credits scene, there's a brilliant shout out to the crab Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, as well as a dig at his accent. In the scene, Tamatoa appears and he's still stuck upside down on his back. He pokes fun at himself and his shiny song, and then says to the audience, "Still upside down here, just need a little push," before pausing and then adding, "Can we be real? If my name was Sebastian and I had a cool Jamaican accent, you'd totally help me. You would, you know you would." Moana's directors have also confirmed that Ariel's sidekick Flounder appears in Moana, and I think I spotted him among the fish which appeared during the 2D animation section of Maui's You're Welcome song. As you can expect, there are some nice Frozen Easter eggs in the film too, so make sure you pay attention in Tamatoa's lair after Maui recovers his fish hook, as the demigod is having difficulty shape-shifting and accidentally switches into a number of different animals, and one of them which flashes by is none other than Kristoff's reindeer Sven. Clements and Musker also directed Aladdin, and Maui's rapid shapeshifting into different creatures tips its hat to the genie's fast and humorous transformations, as well as the various quick and funny transformations that Aladdin's monkey Abu goes through. And when Moana wakes up on Maui's island after being shipwrecked, her hair is all messed up and full of sand, which is a nod to when Anna woke up with big messed up hair in Frozen. As I'm sure you remember, Snowman Olaf actually loves summer and likes to imagine himself sunbathing on the beach. Now, we don't actually see him soaking up the sun in Moana, as you can imagine what would happen to him if he did that, but Moana's directors have said that he is hidden in the film, so keep your eyes peeled for what would be left of a snowman if he went in the sun, for example, his carrot nose. And Moana screenwriter Jared Bush pokes a bit of fun at the idea of Disney princesses when Moana states that she is not a princess, but Maui replies, "If you wear a dress and you have an animal sidekick, you're a princess." Moana's directors are also behind Disney's 1997 animated feature Hercules, so it's intriguing that Maui's backstory is a reverse of Hercules' backstory. Maui was a mortal who was abandoned by his human parents and taken in by gods, who made him a demigod. But Hercules, however, had gods as parents, but ended up being raised by humans after he was abandoned on Earth by Hades' minions. And in a nice bit of coincidence, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's the voice of Maui, has played a demigod before. In fact, he was Hercules in a 2014 live-action movie of the same name. The funny line where Maui interrupts Moana as she's addressing him as Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, and he tells her that she needs to add hero of men and women to her list of epithets for him, could be a nod to the moniker of the People's Champion that Dwayne Johnson took on during his wrestling days. Minnie Maui, who's Maui's tattoo sidekick and acts as a demigod's conscience, brings to mind the character of Jiminy Cricket, who is the conscience of Pinocchio in Disney's famous film from 1940. There's an amusing pop culture reference to Twitter when Maui grabs Hei Hei and uses his beak to sign Moana's oar, saying that when you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting. And when Moana lands on top of Maui as they jump into the realm of monsters, it's an interesting callback with a twist to The Princess and the Frog, which was made by Moana directors Clements and Musker. In this film, Maui lands first and thinks he's all okay, but then Moana comes crashing down on top of him. And in The Princess and the Frog, Tiana and Naveen are suspended in air by some balloons which burst, sending Tiana crashing down first. She's caught by a spider's web and thinks she's safe until Naveen comes crashing down on top of her. And it's in Lalautai where we're introduced to Tamatoa, the huge self-absorbed crab who likes to collect and adorn himself with hundreds of shiny objects. The character's reminiscent of the Collector in Marvel's movies, who's portrayed by Benicio del Toro, and like Tamatoa, is a shady character who likes to collect special objects. There's also a hint of the Hobbit's dragon Smaug, specifically Peter Jackson's film The Desolation of Smaug, about Tamatoa, in the way that they both cover themselves in the hoards of treasure they've amassed in their lair deep within a mountain, and in the way that at first both Bilbo Baggins and Moana don't even realise they're walking on top of Smaug and Tamatoa until the creatures emerge from underneath their treasure. Tamatoa's fantastic song Shiny is heavily influenced by David Bowie, and Jemaine Clement, who voices the enormous crab, actually played David Bowie in an episode of his TV comedy series Flight of the Conchords. As Tamatoa raises himself up in his lair, a number of shiny artifacts that he's been collecting fall off him, and one of them looks suspiciously like a rocket, which could be a nod to Disney's 1991 adventure movie The Rocketeer, which they are currently developing a sequel to. The monsters we see glimpses of in Lalautai originate from Polynesian legends of Maui. For example, there's an 8-eyed bat who Maui once killed when the bat tried to steal Maui's wife, Kumu Lama. And there's a giant eel which represents the eel god Tunaroa, which Maui has killed in various legends. The Kakamora sequence is a cross between Gremlins and Mad Max Fury Road. In fact, the directors have said they specifically wanted to pay homage to director George Miller and his critically acclaimed Mad Max sequel. And there's a moment when Moana lands on the deck of one of the Kakamora boats and they all suddenly turn and face her. Well, hidden among the Kakamora is a very crafty Easter egg to the lovable robot Baymax from Big Hero 6. Moana's directors Ron Clements and John Musker have cameoed in many of their previous Disney films, and it looks like they might be hidden among the Kakamora too. If you stay through the whole credits, you'll not only get to see the awesome Tamatoa post-credit scene, but you'll also get to see a visual shout out to Disney's next animated feature, Wreck-It Ralph 2. Just make sure you watch the little tapestries that scroll by during the credits, as there's a Wreck-It Ralph picture in one of them on the right-hand side of the screen, right towards the end of the movie. And given that there are a number of Moana Easter eggs in Zootopia, it's hardly surprising to find an Easter egg to Disney's last animated hit in Moana, especially since the two films were written by Jared Bush. Remember in Zootopia there was a very funny Moana Easter egg via the Meowana bootlegged Blu-ray that Weaselton was selling on his stall. And there was also an Easter egg to Maui's fish hook on the back of Finnick's van. Well, the Zootopia Easter egg in Moana takes the form of the slow-talking, fast-driving sloth Flash. Moana's directors have said that Flash appears in disguise, which makes this creature here, who appears in the Realm of Monsters sequence, a very good candidate to be Flash. Notice that he's got 4 claws like Flash's on each limb. When the ocean first reaches out to Moana as a sentient character in the movie, it's reminiscent of the alien water tentacle from James Cameron's 1989 sci-fi movie, The Abyss. And the ocean also has a sense of Aladdin's magic carpet about it, in that it's a non-speaking character that helps out Moana and guides her forward in her quest. There's a nod to Pixar's Crush and Squirt in the scenes with toddler Moana, when she's on the beach and helps a baby turtle like Squirt across the sand safely to the water. And the baby turtle also swims by later with a much larger turtle who's similar to Crush from Finding Nemo and Finding Dory. And that lovely moment when toddler Moana gently takes a leaf and uses it to shield the baby turtle to help it to the sea is also a little Easter egg to the photo of Stitch doing the same during the credits of Lilo and Stitch. And when Moana gets embarrassed about eating pork in front of her pet pig Pua, it calls to mind Lilo explaining why she couldn't feed a tuna sandwich to her pet fish Pudge. And there's also a recurring in-joke about eating Hei Hei. For example, one of the villagers wants to cook him as he thinks the rooster is too stupid to survive, which is a reference to the fact that Hei Hei was almost scrapped from Moana as the filmmakers were struggling to make the character work in the story. In fact, the day they figured out how to keep Hei Hei in the movie, they all celebrated with a meal of fried chicken, which means that Moana eating pork in front of Pua is also another in-joke about that. After Te Fiti's heart is returned, there's a sequence where the mother island is restored to life, and in those shots of the island's vegetation, there's what looks like the magical golden flower from Tangled, which seems very appropriate as the magical flower is associated with healing and life. The character of Grandma Tala, whose spirit becomes a ray in the ocean, is analogous to Grandmother Willow in Pocahontas, in that she serves as a voice of wisdom and as someone who can guide the story's young heroine. And Grandma Tala's question to Moana, "Is there something you want to hear?" which basically means that Moana already knows her heritage and what she should do, is an echo of Willow's advice to Pocahontas, to listen to the spirits, and Willow's words that, "You know your path, child, now follow it." By the way, there's a nod back to the brilliant short Inner Workings, which plays before Moana, when Moana yells at the ocean, "Fish pee in you all day!" and also when she thinks she's found a warm current in the sea, but it's actually just because Maui's peed in it. If you remember, in Inner Workings, there's a funny moment when the main character runs into the sea and we see his bladder give a big smile and sigh, a cheeky joke about Paul peeing in the sea. As you'd expect in a Disney movie, there are some nice hidden Mickeys. For example, you can see one just briefly in the scene which introduces us to Tamatoa and his lair. Look out for 3 pearls positioned on the sand just below Tamatoa that look like the classic Mickey Mouse silhouette. You can also see a similar Mickey on the character poster for Tamatoa in the positioning of 3 pearls in a canoe to the right of Tamatoa. And there seem to be a few hidden Mickeys snuck into the Kakamora scenes too. They're a little difficult to spot among all the action going on during their attack, but here are a few ones I spotted. In this shot, there seems to be a pair of hidden Mickeys and the barrels or drums stacked up on one of the Kakamora boats. Each Mickey has 2 Kakamora standing on top what would be the ears in that Mickey. And the way these coconuts are stacked also looks like it could be another hidden Mickey, and I'm sure there'll be more hidden secrets tucked away in these manically busy Kakamora scenes that we'll have to wait for the Blu-ray to spot. Now I'd love to know what other Easter eggs and references you spotted that I missed, and how does Moana compare with your other favourite Disney movies? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and comment for your chance to win this gorgeous The Art of Disney's Moana hardback book. If you enjoy finding Easter eggs in Disney movies, check out my Zootopia Easter eggs video, and I've also got more Moana videos for you, including my review, my top 5 moments, and amazing facts about the making of the movie. Click or tap on either of these links here to check those out. Thanks for watching, and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!